Volvo's XC90 showcases cutting-edge technology in recharged T8 plug-in hybrid guise. There's 30 miles of all-electric driving range, a CO2 figure of just 61 grams per kilometre and a 3-figure fuel return. All delivered with the ability, denied to customers of some other large crossovers, to take 7 passengers in comfort. Here's a family-sized SUV more ready than most for a very different world.
The second generation XC90 was a car that fans of the brand anticipated impatiently, and what we got when it arrived in 2014 was worth the wait. Absolutely everything about this Mark II model was fundamentally new and engineered to set fresh class standards, and nowhere was this more evident than with the recharged T8 plug-in hybrid petrol-electric variant that we're going to look at here, which, like the rest of the range, was then usefully updated early in 2019, creating the car we're going to look at today. Here you get the potential for Super Mini style running costs, and on top of that there's a sort of proper full-sized 7-seat versatility that few rivals can credibly offer, and the kind of cool, authentic Scandinavian charm which has made a welcome return to Volvo in recent years. It all sounds quite promising, doesn't it? Time to put this car to the test. The recharged T8 badging applied to this car denotes its petrol-electric powertrain and its plug-in hybrid usability. In fact, there are 3 engines if you're going to be pedantic about it and count the 25 brake horsepower starter motor generator, which pitches in from time to time to smooth out any gaps in torque delivery between the 2 main power sources. One of these is a 303 horsepower turbocharged supercharged petrol unit that's borrowed from the old conventional T6 model, and it's there to drive the front wheels. In an XC90 T8 though, it's assisted by a separate engine at the back, an 87 brake horsepower electric motor powered by a battery pack which is neatly packaged away in the transmission tunnel. It's all enough to deliver a set of stats that it's quite hard to get your head around. So 386 horsepower and 62 miles an hour from rest in just 5.8 seconds, the kind of storming performance you'd get in a segment from, say, Porsche Cayenne S, matched with real-world fuel and CO2 readings which could potentially equal those of a frugal Super Mini. You can even go a fraction faster if you pay extra for the Polestar Performance software optimization option that we have here, which boosts engine output to 317 horsepower. Either way, for ultimate performance, you'll need to select the most performance-orientated of the 5 driving settings which T8 owners are offered. The power mode, which sees both the petrol and electric units permanently working together. Alternatively, there are 4 other drive choices: a hybrid setting that sees the 2 engines cutting in and out as necessary, an all-wheel drive mode that gives you permanent 4x4 traction off-road, plus a pure electric setting that only uses the battery power and can take you up to 30.4 miles. That's more than most people's daily commuting distance on a single charge. There is even a save option too, so that on a longer trip you can hold on to the charge until you get to the city driving that you might have to do at the end of it. Enough on modes, engines and electrification. What is this car like to drive? Well, the answer that we gave when we first tested it back in 2015 was that we were pleasantly surprised by the handling dynamics thanks to the big improvement that was made over the previous model. The segment standard in this regard has advanced a little since, but the XC90 still feels class competitive with its neat balance between comfort and agility. On the highway, overall refinement is pretty good, although other rivals do a better job of suppressing tyre roar and suspension noise. On the subject of damping, we've noticed that potholes and speed humps are felt rather more keenly than we'd like, although Volvo does offer a potential solution to this issue in the form of its active 4C chassis package, and that gives you 4-corner adaptive dampers and also electronic air suspension, all of it working through the settings of the selectable drive modes that we mentioned earlier on. This setup fitted on this test car makes quite a lot of difference, so it's disappointing that the Swedish brand doesn't offer it as standard. Handling strikes a good balance between comfort and agility. Cruising refinement meets the required executive standard, and there's a potential for a mild amount of off-road prowess too. A standard pilot assist system offers a degree of highway-orientated autonomous driving technology, and you might also be interested to know that this car can tow up to 2,700 kilos. The look of this second generation XC90, according to its exterior design manager Anders Gunnarsson, needed to be timeless. If, like its predecessor, its model life has to stretch across the decades, then you can certainly see why. Hence the considerable depth of thought, which has clearly gone into a sense of style, reflective of brand values both old and new. So many large luxury SUVs appeal bulky and intimidating. This isn't one of them. Only very minor visual changes feature with this revised version of the Mark II model, things like tiny tweaks to the bumper and the air intakes, plus extra black trim on this R design model. There's also this slightly redesigned front grille, which as before features Volvo's traditional iron mark logo at its centre. From the side, the XC90 looks resolutely practical and unsporty, yet it still manages a sense of purpose thanks to this strong upper shoulder line and this prominent lower crease that gives the flank some shape. These large arches really need to be filled by something a bit more substantial than the base model's 19-inch rims. A range of sizes are available, right up to the biggest 22-inch diamond-cut black 5 double-spoke alloys that feature here. Move to the rear and there's a look here that, if you know your luxury SUVs, could only belong to an XC90, thanks to these 3D tail lights which emphasise the distinct body shoulder line and border the tailgate, and they flow up into this smart roof mounted spoiler. Time to take a look inside. Now, we liked the front of cabin experience served up by this XC90 when we first tested it back in 2015. We still do. This interior is simple and elegant and very uncluttered, with only 8 buttons on the fascia. And the remaining functions that you'd normally access through confusing little rows of switches on the dash have all been relocated into menu options that lie behind the big, easy to use icons you'll find on this smart 9-inch infotainment colour touchscreen, which is presented portrait style on the centre console. You'll glimpse more high-tech screen technology through this 3-spoke wheel, courtesy of Volvo's 12.3-inch active TFT crystal driver's information display. Otherwise though, this cabin is an aesthetic triumph. It's immaculately made and full of premium touches like this diamond cut start-stop control switch and a slatted cover for this centre dash compartment. We like the technical niceties too, the clean zone interior air quality system, for example. This automatically switches into a recirculation mode if outside conditions change, say in a polluted city centre or when you enter a smoky tunnel. Time to take a seat in the middle row. Your middle row passengers, they're very well catered for with individual seats which slide and recline for greater comfort on longer journeys. Now here we've got the optional huge panoramic glass roof fitted, and this gives this part of the cabin a light, airy feel, which is something that we think you'd really want in a 7-seat SUV. Right, what about this car's proper 7-seat functionality? It's time to put that aspect of this XC90 to the test. Getting into the back row does require a bit of muscular dexterity. And as an adult, you'll only be able to install yourself here with any kind of comfort if you prevail on those ahead of you to move their seats forward a bit. But if that's possible, we could believe that a couple of fully sized adults could cope okay back here over short to medium length journeys. As for the boot space on offer, well, that falls in comparison to the more conventional XC90 variants. With the T8 in 7-seat mode, it's 262 litres to the window line and 316 up to the roof. Most of the time, of course, though, you'll be running this car with the third row chairs folded down, and the retracting process is much easier than the back-breakingly fumbly machinations that you have to go through in a rival Land Rover Discovery to achieve the same end result. Once that's completed, there's a lot of room to play with. On this T8 variant, there's 640 litres if you load to the window line and as much as 967 if you load to the roof. You can improve on those figures by sliding the second row seats forward if you have uncomplaining middle row passengers on board, or by making the second row seat backs more upright. Getting more room, of course, means folding the middle row. On this T8 variant, That frees up 1,005 litres to the window line, or 1,816 litres if you load right up to the roof. At the time of this test in summer 2021, the on-the-road prices of XC90 recharged T8 plug-in hybrid models listed in the £67,000 to £77,000 bracket. That means you can expect to pay a premium of around £10,000 over the comparable B5 diesel version. The range starts with Inscription Expression trim, after which there are two main spec levels: R Design, which is what we have here, and Inscription, with interim Pro variants of each also available. In terms of rivals to this XC90 T8 plug-in model, well, none of the large luxury SUVs you probably have in mind can be directly compared here, because in their plug-in forms they can't offer a third seating row. Here we're thinking about cars like Audi's Q7 55 TFSIe, which has 375 horsepower and costs about the same. You could save a fraction and get BMW's X5 xDrive 45e, or go for the Mercedes GLE 350DE, but that car's a diesel and has less power. Two other petrol plug-in models in the sector might be on an XC90 T8 customer's potential radar. A Range Rover Sport P400e plug-in costs around £7,000 more than this Volvo, and a Porsche Cayenne e-hybrid costs around £5,000 more, but they can't offer 7 seats either. For 3 seating rows with plug-in power, you'd have to choose a slightly less exalted model in this segment, like Hyundai's Santa Fe or Kia's Sorento, both of which, incomparably equipped form, sell in the £45,000 to £50,000 price bracket. Lexus offers a full hybrid in this class that can be had with 7 seats, the RXL, but that's a full hybrid of the self-charging variety, and that means it can't be plugged in, and it therefore can't run for significant periods in full electric mode. That Lexus model would save you around £10,000 up front over an XC90 T8, but this Volvo would claw back much of that difference over time, thanks to its better fuel consumption and its lower taxation exposure. Enough with the comparisons. Having considered all that, you might well come to the conclusion that an XC90 T8 is exactly what you want. If so, you'll want to know just how generous Volvo has been with the standard spec, so let's look in detail at that now. There's plenty, even if you opt for the most affordable Inscription Expression trim level. Such a base spec XC90 T8 would feature 19-inch alloy wheels, and all versions of this Volvo have roof rails, front and rear parking sensors, auto headlamps and wipers, and a power-operated tailgate. Plus there are LED headlights that at night can bend with the road and dip themselves automatically, and a class-leading package of electronic safety equipment, which we'll get to later. Inside on all variants there's full leather trim and a powered heated driver's seat with lumbar support and memory settings. You can also tick off 2-zone electronic climate control, an auto dimming rear view mirror, and a 12.3-inch active TFT crystal driver's information display to replace the usual instrument dials. This will change in layout according to the drive mode settings you choose. The other key cabin display is the 9-inch center console touchscreen. That's your access point to this car's clever Sensors Connect infotainment system. From here, or via voice control, you can access a 10-speaker, 330-watt high-performance sound system with DAB digital radio. Plus, there's a senseless navigation system with traffic information and European mapping, and, as you'd expect, Bluetooth phone compatibility and USB and aux in ports. The first year of ownership also includes use of a eSIM card with 100 gigabytes of data that'll give you a Wi-Fi hotspot for up to 8 devices, integration of real-time traffic information into navigation, and worry-free roaming across 42 countries. Should you go further and consider an upgrade to the pricier R Design or top Inscription trim levels? Possibly. Both these pricier trim packages give you smarter 20-inch diamond-cut alloy wheels and rear doors with integrated sun curtains. And at this level in the range, there's standardization for features like front seat extension cushions, multi-directional lumbar support, multicolored theatre lighting, and illumination for the tread plates, the door pockets, and the cup holders. The R Design spec we have here is our market's best-selling trim level, and specifically on these variants you get extra high-gloss black exterior embellishment, dual integrated exhaust pipes, and dark tinted rear and rear side windows. Inside, the R-Design pack gives you a sports steering wheel with gear shift paddles, a black headliner, sports pedals, sports floor mats, a sports leather gear knob and metal mesh cabin inlays. If you prioritise luxury rather than sportiness and you want a top spec XC90 T8, you'll prefer the range-topping inscription models. These are identifiable by a matte silver front grille, chromed lower side mouldings and more intricate 10-spoke 20-inch wheel rims. Appropriately, there's an even plusher cabin feel, a softer Napa leather upholstery matched with classy black ash cabin inlays and luxury floor mats, plus you also get a shimmering Auraforce crystal gear lever. With both R-Design and the top inscription trim level, you'll be offered a Pro Pack option, which will add in a head-up display, a heated steering wheel, headlamp washers, heated washer nozzles, active bending headlights, and Volvo's Active 4C chassis, which gives you 4 corner adaptive dampers, and what we'd see to be a key XC90 feature, air suspension. You'll also get a wheel upgrade to 21-inch 8 multi-spoke alloy wheels on an Inscription Pro variant, or to 22-inch 5 double-spoke alloys on this R-Design Pro model. So that's the standard spec taken care of, but you'll want to have a look at the available options. We have some key ones fitted here. Let's start with Polestar Performance Software Optimization. This gives you an extra Polestar engineered drive mode, optimizing this Volvo's performance responses. You should notice this when you're overtaking, and that's thanks to recalibrated gear shift points and quicker shift speeds, along with tweaks to throttle response and to the mid-range power band. Plus, off-throttle response is more predictable for those times when you suddenly have to lift off the accelerator. Polestar Performance Software Optimization boosts total output on a T8 from 303 to 317 HP. Other extras added here include a Bowers & Wilkins premium sound system, a 360-degree surround view camera system, a panoramic glass roof, heated rear seats and a wireless phone charger. We've also got a couple of practical extras, a bike holder which can sit on top of the optional tow bar and in this case can hold up to 3 bikes. Plus, as we have, you can also order a dog harness. And of course, your dealer will want to offer you the usual roof boxes, the racks for skis, snowboards, kayaks and bikes, plus floor mats, sunshades, mud flaps and a full range of child seats and booster cushions. On to safety, and here is an extraordinary statistic. Since the Volvo XC90 went on sale in the UK back in 2002, not a single person has been killed while driving one, nor has any passenger been killed in an XC90 accident. It is quite simply, according to official government statistics, the safest car on the road. Today, the company continues its safety ambitions with the most daring and far-reaching safety objective in the industry, which is that no one should ever be killed or seriously injured in a new Volvo. Meeting that objective means the need for a whole new level of safety, and sure enough, in every new Volvo we test these days, there's an IntelliSafe world-first safety spec edition that raises the standard just a little bit higher. One of the most recently introduced features is oncoming collision mitigation by braking, which is there to detect vehicles heading towards you on the wrong side of the road. There's also clever steer assist functionality, which works at speeds of up to 87 miles an hour with what's called oncoming lane mitigation. If you move out of your lane to overtake or to turn and you find yourself in the path of an oncoming vehicle, the system will warn you of the potential danger by automatically providing steering assistance to guide you safely back into your lane. Then there are Volvo's so-called run-off-road features. Run-off-road mitigation warns you if you're veering off the road and putting your wheels near the verge. If that's not enough to prevent you from leaving the tarmac, then run-off-road protection cuts in. As with other similar systems, Mercedes pre-safe setup, for example, that potential accident scenario will see the seat belts automatically pre-tensioned and all the airbags immediately primed. What is unique about this setup though is that in a situation where the car is launched into the air and then thumps down, as often happens in a scenario like this, the front seat frames have been designed to collapse in a way that will protect your spine from severe damage, while at the same time Volvo's usual whips protection guards against whiplash on your neck. A perhaps more familiar modern camera-driven safety feature for buyers in this segment is autonomous braking. This is a kind of system that uses a combined camera and radar unit at the top of the windscreen to scan the road ahead as you drive for potential accident hazards. A setup that can automatically brake for you if a moving or stationary object or person is detected and you haven't noticed it. Even here though, the Swedish brand has taken things to the next level. Volvo's version of autonomous braking is called City Safety with steering support, and as the name suggests, it's a system that can not only automatically apply the brakes in extreme situations, but it's also one that can apply extra steering lock to help you turn away from a potential accident. There are a number of inclusive aspects to this city safety technology that we really like. One is the full auto brake element. Let's say you're momentarily distracted and you go to move off from a roundabout or come out of a turning directly in front of another motorist. Well, in this car, you won't be able to. Your XC90 will detect the oncoming vehicle and automatically apply the brakes to prevent the accident. Also built into the city safety system is the large animal detection feature. Now you might think that there's a relatively low likelihood of you ever hitting a large animal, but Volvo doesn't, and with good reason. Apparently, a third of all accidents in Sweden are of this type, so there's long been a genuine need for someone to do something about this. This particular setup was originally developed to deal with elk and moose, but for our shores it's said to be particularly effective at warning you when large deer are approaching from the side of a dark road ahead. Other standard safety features include more familiar things like twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus a driver's knee bag, Isofix child seat fastenings, a pedestrian-friendly active bonnet, and a road sign information display, which pictures road signs as you pass them and displays them on the dash. We'll also mention the useful Volvo On-Call app, via which you get an emergency and roadside assistance support system, which will sense if your car is involved in a collision and alert a trained operator to immediately contact your vehicle. If no response is detected, then the emergency services will be instantly informed. Also standard is Volvo's IntelliSafe Assist package. This gives you a radar-driven adaptive cruise control, which will automatically regulate your XC90's speed on the highway, and which allows Volvo to fit its own interpretation of the current state of autonomous driving technology. That's the company's Pilot Assist system. This is a setup which at cruising speeds of up to 80 miles an hour can effectively drive for you. It's able to assist with the steering and take care of the throttle and braking on major roads, reading the white lines on the road and keeping you firmly between them. As with the Mercedes version of this system, now this is an expensive extra on the rival GLE model, you have to keep your hands on the wheel at all times for this to be operable. As part of the changes made to this Mark II XC90 lineup, Volvo introduced a higher capacity battery to this T8 variant, which enhanced its all-electric driving range by around 15%, so it's up from 22 to 30.4 miles, a useful increase. Theoretically then, you could use an XC90 T8 every day without ever visiting a fuel station unless you needed to undertake a longer trip. That's assuming, of course, that you keep the lithium-ion battery fully charged. That'll take a little longer than before, thanks to the bigger battery. Owners can buy a wall box from Volvo, which will charge their cars on 16 amp power in about 3 hours. If you're out and about and you can find a 10 amp public charging point, then the needed time will be slightly longer, around 4 hours, while connecting up to a normal domestic 3-pin 6 amp supply will take 8 hours. Ultimately, to justify this T8 model's price premium over the conventionally engined variants in the range, you really have to try to plug it in at every possible opportunity. Otherwise, you'll simply find yourself running a heavy petrol-powered SUV, and one that will need more frequent refueling than a more conventional XC90, because its fuel tank size falls from 71 to 50 litres due to the need to make space for the hybrid powertrain and the battery. If on the move you want to prioritise all-electric progress, then you can select a pure driving mode, which prioritises electric-only operation and will be useful in an urban environment. In everyday use though, most T8 owners will be driving in the hybrid mode, which the car's powertrain automatically defaults to, a setting in which the vehicle will automatically alternate between petrol and electric power, and the basis for a faintly incredible sounding set of WLTP rated running cost figures up to 104.5 miles per gallon on the WLTP combined cycle and up to 61 grams per kilometre of CO2. A driver performance option on the centre dash screen graphically shows how frugally you've been driving, and on this T8 model also includes an interactive graphic showing what's currently being powered by what. While we can't imagine any XC90 T8 owner actually achieving the brand's officially quoted returns, the important thing is that the government believes them, so business users will be able to write down as much as 100% of the cost of this car against their tax liability. And a 40% taxpayer could be driving an XC90 T8 while incurring a 16% BIK tax bill that would be way less than half that of what they'll pay for a conventional diesel-powered large luxury SUV in this class. If you're a business buyer browsing in this segment, these are figures that'll reward a bit of thought if you were just about to blindly sign on the dotted line for a conventional diesel model. Volvo seems to be flourishing under foreign ownership, and this recharged T8 plug-in hybrid XC90 is a good example of why. You might have expected Chinese company control to stifle Volvo's Scandinavian character. Instead, what we've been given here is a return to Swedish charisma and an emphasis on all the things that the Gothenburg brand does best. Cool, restrained style, real-world practicality, and class-leading safety. Of course, this Volvo is not perfect. There are still sharper handling choices and more capable off-roaders in the sector. In balancing these virtues though, this XC90 sets its own class standard, and in doing so, it establishes a family benchmark amongst luxury SUVs that rivals will struggle to match. Add in the astonishingly low running costs which come with plug-in hybrid technology, and it's a difficult formula to resist if you're shopping in this segment. Company founders Assar Gabrielsen and Gustav Larsson would have liked this car. More importantly though, if you're shopping in this segment, we think you will too.